This is an exciting time in Scotland's story, and understanding our past will help us determine our future. And when Scotland's voice is heard, it charts the way forward. This is Scotland Speaks with Alex Salmond.
Hello and welcome to Scotland Speaks with Alex Salmond, and happy St Andrew's Day to you all. Now, as befits Scotland's National Day, today's show returns to its Scottish roots and examines the story of the saltire, the blue and white emblem of Scotland and the flag in the wind. But what is the connection between the saltire and St Andrew, and for that matter, between the Apostle Andrew and Scotland? Well, we speak today to the organisation dedicated to the promotion of the saltire, the MSP who chairs the cross-party group supporting St Andrew's Day in the Scottish Parliament, and the campaigning politician who has done more than any other to demand a fitting recognition of Scotland's National Day. Over to Alex.
And I'm joined by a representative of the organisation which promotes the saltire, Scotland's national flag, Fraser Thompson of the Scottish Flag Trust. Fraser, welcome to Scotland Speaks with Alex Salmond.
Thank you, Alex. It's great to be here.
So tell us a bit about the Flag Trust. I mean, what are you doing? What are you doing to promote the saltire?
Well, we maintain the Saltire Memorial in Athelstanford, which is considered, as you know, Alex, to be the birthplace of Scotland's flag. That was created in 1965, and then in the late 90s, Flag Heritage Centre was created by somebody you'll know very well, Dr. Alan McCarthy, as well as the historian Nigel Tranter. It's coming up to the 60th anniversary of the memorial being installed. This is a big national important centre. It should be better recognised, and it should also be, I think, in a better condition. So we're doing a lot of work at the moment to restore the birthplace of the flag, restore the memorial, and bring the visitor attraction there up to top standards. And that's what we're looking for support for at the moment.
So let's start at the beginning. The Athelstane Ford and the saltire. There's Angus II of Scotland. The year is 832. He's facing a Northumbrian army of Angles. Things aren't going too well for him. And what happens then?
Well, various stories, of course, but he prays for intercession effectively and is rewarded during the following morning, depending on who you read, whereas Spottiswoode or other medieval chroniclers, lots of our medieval historians have retellings of these stories, but it seems to be there definitely was some kind of battle near Athelstane Ford. There's old maps that show certain fields being known as the Bloody Lands. But at that battle, as many Scots will know, in the sky there was said to be a cloud formation that represented the cross on which Andrew was crucified, a diagonal cross, because he didn't want to be crucified in the same type of cross as Jesus, appeared in the sky, and they were spurred on to victory. And this army of the Picts and the Scots coming together and not quite knowing it yet, but forging a new nation. And the historian Nigel Tranter said it can be given to few, if any, nation to be able to pinpoint a specific location where its national saint was adopted, where the country came into being, and where its national flag was created. And that's Athelstanford. We want to make sure that we have the best possible attraction there for Scots and people all over the world to come and visit.
So, I mean, conventional history might tell you that 10 years later, Kenneth MacAlpine, King of Dalriada, conquered the Pictland, but you prefer that it was Angus II with his united army of Picts and Scots.
Yes, well, it's a coming together. I mean, these things are very useful, I think, as a creation myth for the nation. And there was obviously a specific move on in medieval times to take some of these ancient stories and put them together. In in the Scotorium, Bauer writes about Athelstan-Ford, and Bauer was born in Haddington, which is about an hour's walk away from Athelstan-Ford. So he's taken both local oral tradition as well as his own historical research and looking at other chronicles to put these stories together. So there is a basis to it. It's a very well understood creation myth. It's very widely distributed, and it's very well accepted by all of these medieval historians. So there's something very much to it, and it's important that we celebrate it.
And was there an earlier association with Scotland and St Andrew before Athelstan-Ford, or was that the moment that the saint and the nation were cemented together?
I think you might argue that these things are perhaps slightly revisionist in the medieval period. Certainly, when you look at the way the flag has been adopted, you have Robert II having the saltire as a seal, and various uses of the saltire on different banners. So the Battle of Otterburn, for example, has the saltire in the hoist of a banner for a battle. And then when you come through to things like the Great Michael, we have historic evidence showing the saltire definitely is a standalone flag, and paper.
That was the greatest, I should say, that was the greatest ship ever built in Scotland in the early modern period.
Largest ship in the world.
Largest ship in the world. Listen, the saltire fort, I mean, it must have been a good association, because, you know, Scotland, a small nation, but St Andrew, of course, a big saint, you know, first called, as he would be termed in the Scottish Catholic Church, but also, of course, in all the Eastern Orthodox churches, who would be very proud to be associated with the saint who was first called to Christ. So for a small nation, that's a big saint.
The big saint is also used in the Declaration of Arbroath, of course, to say that, you know, Scotland is a special daughter of the See of Rome. These were periods when the Archbishop of York was looking to have overlordship of the Scottish Church, and they're saying, no, we're quite all right, thank you very much. We're a separate entity here, and we do our own thing. So yes, a kind of Premier League saint, if you like, Alec, and a symbol that's very much current with us today. You know, it's a warm and welcoming symbol for people all over the world, for Scots born here and for new Scots that have chosen to make Scotland their home.
So tell me a bit about the activities of the Flag Trust. I mean, what are you doing to raise the money to tell this wonderful story far and wide?
Well, we have a great website at saltire.scot, and we allow people to sponsor the flag at the Saltire Memorial there for the day. You can have a package either for the year or a recurring package where you can make an annual donation to help keep the flag flying at Athelstan-Ford. And as I said earlier, we have a whole series of projects on the go to really restore the site there, improve it, make it look much better as it ought to be as a nationally important site. And viewers of the Alex Salmond show can go on and make donations on the website.
And at this point, it's quite touching, isn't it? Because a great friend of mine, my old election agent, Stuart Pratt, who guided me through 9 elections to victory, died sadly last year. But he had a day's memorial, a saltire flying for him at your base at Athelstan-Ford. That seems to me a very poignant way to commemorate a relative and a patriot.
Indeed, and any viewer of Scotland Speaks can go on now and do that. So we have lots of people who either give them as gifts for people when you're struggling to think of a gift to get a true patriot of Scotland. But as you say, Alec, many other people are choosing to memorialise people and remember a loved one as someone special to them or their organisation through sponsoring the flag. You get a nice certificate and you get the knowledge that that name of that person is in our Flag Heritage Centre and that the flag has been flown in their honour on the day.
Just in your opinion and the opinion of the Flag Trust, I know you've got Tom Devine, Scotland's greatest living historian, as your honorary patron now. I mean, what should be being done more officially to promote Scotland's national symbol, our national flag, and of course our Saints' Day?
Well, I mean, you'll be aware that there's a cross-party group in Holyrood looking to make further inroads in promoting the St Andrew's Day and the saltire more generally. I think it's certainly something that the Scottish Government wants to take up they're very good at promoting St Andrew's Day as part of their winter festivals. This is the beginning of the winter festival season, and St Andrew's Day marks the beginning of that. It's also a really important diplomatic tool. You know, many other nations will use their Saints' Day or their Independence Day or a day special to them for diplomatic opportunities. So I think, you know, all of our hubs across the world and here in Scotland, we want to be inviting our international friends in on St Andrew's Day and making them welcome in the way that the saltire flag welcomes all Scots.
But you know how much influence this programme carries, Fraser Thompson. So speaking directly to the responsible ministers in the Scottish Government, what would you encourage them to do in terms of further promoting the flag in the wind?
Well, it's a great story. We've obviously had the year of stories as part of Scotland's years. I think it would be ideal, certainly when we're coming up to 2025 and the 60th anniversary of the Saltire Memorial, to make 2025 the year of Scotland's saltire and St Andrews. So
whether your message be whether you're commemorating a lost friend or looking forward to a special Christmas present with Christmas coming, the goose getting fat, they should think of the Saltire Trust as a fitting and patriotic present.
Absolutely. There's no better way to celebrate a true friend of Scotland than having the saltire flown in their honour, whether it's in their memory or to celebrate their birthday or a day special for them.
And finally, I can't resist this one, Fraser. You have a special race day, of course. Today it was at Musselburgh Racecourse. Did you back a winner or two?
Well, sadly not. I'll need to be getting on the phone to you next year, Alec, and getting a tip for that. We have the Musselburgh Racecourse here in East Lothian. The creation of the flag and the birthplace of the saltire is very important to the whole of the county. And at Musselburgh each year, we now have the Saltire Race Day, and we're very proud of that.
Fraser Thompson of the Scottish Flag Trust, thank you so much for joining me on Scotland Speaks with Alex Salmond.
Thank you, Alec. Take care.
You can help restore the birthplace of Scotland's saltire. Sponsor the flag flying at the Saltire Memorial for yourself or as a gift for someone with a love of Scotland. Legend says that a white saltire appeared against the blue sky at the Battle of Athelstan Ford in East Lothian in 832 AD. Today at Athelstan Ford, the flag flies all year round. Sponsors have the flag flown in their honour on a day of their choice and receive a certificate. Your donation helps to restore the birthplace of the saltire and keep the flag flying. Find out more about the history of Scotland's flag and help restore the birthplace of the saltire at saltire.scot.
Now, in our last show, we featured two of the finest American commentators, but with diametrically opposed views on the live possibility of the return to the presidency of Donald J. Trump. For anthropologist Wade Davis, it is an impending disaster which could shake American democracy to its foundations. Fred Martin, it would shake up the American liberal establishment. Let's remember what they said.
Well, you know, we've almost entered the realm of the phantasmagoric or the surreal, and almost difficult to believe as it may be, it is in fact happening. And the one thing we have to always remember is that at every point that we thought that Trump had done something that would, by any standard convention, eliminate him from contention, he's managed to overcome that with the kind of barrage of rhetoric and falsehoods and appealing to the base instincts of the American people, I'd say. Whether he'll be able to weather the convictions, whether the convictions will hold, or whether his core base will simply conclude that this was a conspiracy all along that he's been describing it to be, is a really critical question. Because, you know, if there's one thing we've learned to expect from Trump is that he does realize his promises. And the kinds of things he's been saying about politicizing the Justice Department, about overtly seeking revenge on those who he felt betrayed him in the 2020 election, the whole litany of petty complaints and vendettas that he's put out. I don't think we should think of this as just loose talk. I think this is something that he, in his kind of delusions, will actually and actively pursue.
I have to say, I never bet against Trump. He's sort of this master survivor and succeeds. But let me take them in order, as you mentioned. And you were saying beforehand, what's the biggest alligator out there to get him? It's actually the case up in Washington, the January 6th related case that's in federal court in Washington that has real teeth in it and has. The prosecutor there has laid a groundwork in a way that is going to be very difficult to challenge. And so let me go back in order. The New York case is about business licenses. Even if he loses that, there may be a fine and his business may have to do business elsewhere.
Might be expensive, Ed.
Yeah, very expensive and very ugly, but that's not going to endanger him. The Mar-a-Lago documents case, notwithstanding all the leaks about it and all, that's not a real threat. I think that's something that nobody really understands. Joe Biden's case against him today or yesterday, they said it would not there'd be no charges. But the January 6th case in Washington, D.C., scheduled to begin in March, is about what happened in Washington. Now, as you know, Alex, I represent 3 of the defendants, regular people that were arrested after January 6th. I've worked on a lot of cases. I can tell you that I find it very unfair. I find the system breaking down, the American legal system, because of how it's been done. But having said all that, it's still federal court with federal prosecutors, and that's the most dangerous alligator out there that could really bite him.
And here's what you had to say about our show on the return of the Donalds. John says, hard to maintain any enthusiasm for politics just now, especially Scottish politics. But I stumbled upon this while flicking through YouTube and really enjoyed it. Good, engaging debate on the situation across the pond. Though I think I'll maybe give James Hogg a miss. We'll certainly tune in again. Cheers. Sheena says, very interesting. Great to hear both sides of the story rather than blanket Trump bad coverage. Great programme. Thank you, Alex Salmond, for your honesty and commitment to Scotland's future. You are a national hero. John Kelly says, there is no far left in the US Congress. The squad in Europe would be considered centre-left. Neither is it a functional democracy in the US. The US is, for all practical intents and purposes, a plutocratic oligarchy. The brutal reality is, in a Trump versus Biden contest, we'll bring out our barf bag and vote for Biden. Then from Australia, Jeff says, the world's left-wing media have spread so much falsehoods and fake news about Trump that it is ingrained into the minds of the misinformed and ignorant everywhere. We've heard about hatred for Trump everywhere and will get no reasons when asked why. No, Trump speaks a lot of truth, including the fact that the 2020 presidential elections were rigged and the Democrats stole it for Biden. Margaret says, wish Alex had challenged Martin's description of Biden as frail. Frail? He walks, runs and rides a bike. The other guy, Donald Trump, walks on stage, runs his mouth and rides a golf buggy. There's 36 months, give or take, between them, but Republicans think it's like years. Biden is as sharp as a tack. Trump is as sharp as a rusted, broken and bent one. Well, that's Margaret wearing her heart on her sleeve. And finally, Gorber's gal says, good stuff. The hog feature of particular interest is hitherto unknown and below radar. Americans can sure talk. The world seems to have lost its bearings and capitalism joins the many other failed modes of civilization. Ho-hum, thanks all. Welcome back. Well, there can only be one hidden hero this week, and that is, of course, St Andrew the Apostle, Scotland's patron saint and founding bishop of the Eastern Orthodox Christian churches. Over to Alex.
Well, who better to look at in this auspicious day than Andrew the Apostle as today's hidden hero? So what do we know about this man? A fair bit, given his venerable age and history. We know he was born in Galilee about 5 AD. We know he died crucified in Paphos in Greece at the age of about 60s, mid-60s, perhaps even a wee bit older. So we know what his lifespan was. And we know from the Bible, of course, that he was the first called. He was the disciple who was first called to Christ. And that is very much celebrated in the Eastern Orthodox religions and in Scotland, of course. We know from the Bible also that St Andrew was the sort of person you'd want to have on your side as one of the disciples. Because although he doesn't dominate the Acts of the Apostles, or he doesn't dominate the biblical tales, he still appears at all of the key moments in the Bible. He's there calling first to Christ. His brother Simon Peter was introduced to Christ by Andrew. We know that Andrew had been a follower of John the Baptist. We know that Andrew brought the boy with the loaves and fishes for the feeding of the 5,000. We know he was in the Mount of Olives with the other senior disciples asking Christ about the end of days and the second coming. So at the key moments in the Christian scripture, then there is Andrew. Also, Andrew's role as the person who was bringing other people. He's not the star of the 12 disciples, but he's very much the figure who seems to hold the team together. And so it proved with his own apostolic career. I mean, he spread the gospel far and wide from his native Palestine right through the Mediterranean. You can tell all the places which have shrines to Andrew in Malta, in Cyprus, in Greece, in Russia, in Georgia, and Ukraine. His activities were quite extraordinary over the 30-year period as an apostle. But of course we know he was the first bishop of Byzantium. So he founded the Eastern Orthodox Christian religions in the same way that Peter founded the Roman Church. So Andrew had a very, very significant effect as an apostle. I like to think the attachment to Scotland is something else that gives a bit to his character. I mean, if we believe legend, the Athelstan Ford legend that we've heard about in this programme, there must have been a reason why the Pictish army thought it's a great idea to have St Andrew on our side. When they looked up at the sky and saw the cross, or the St Andrew's cross in the sky. That St Andrew's cross, of course, because legend has it that St Andrew refused to die because he felt he was unworthy of being crucified in the same cross as Christ, so had the diagonal cross. But there has to be a reason that people thought, yeah, this is great. We've got the senior man, that's Andrew on our side. So I like to think that was a particular attachment because having a senior disciple as your patron saint is something of significance. And perhaps in all that we know about Andrew, there is a real attachment, a real love and association of having Andrew. I love the story about St Rule Regulus coming to Scotland with the bones of St Andrew to the furthest corners of the earth, as was delivered to him in his dream, and wrecking in the East Neuk of Fife to found St Andrews with St Andrew's bones. Unfortunately, the centuries don't quite fit that as the real story, but nonetheless St Andrews was founded, and it was founded with the bones and the relics of the saint. And despite the fact that these original ones were lost in the Reformation, you can still see relics in St Mary's Cathedral in Edinburgh, which have been given to Scotland by the Catholic Church in more recent times. Andrew, as the person who held things together, as Dennis Canavan reminded us, a mission of peacemaking and justice. That's not a bad testimony to a life. It's not a bad saint for Scotland to be associated with. Indeed, we should be so proud of that association, and certainly a worthy entry in our pantheon of Scotland's hidden heroes.
And Hidden Heroes was, of course, as always, sponsored by Flagship Media. Now, cross-party groups in the Scottish Parliament don't usually get all that much publicity, but one of the longest existing and best supported is the group on St Andrew's Day. It is convened by the SNP MSP for Falkirk East, Michelle Thomson. She is in conversation with Alex.
I'm now delighted to be joined by Michelle Thomson, the member of the Scottish Parliament for Falkirk East, but more importantly for today's discussion, convener of the all-party group on St Andrew's Day. Michelle, welcome to Scotland Speaks with Alex Salmond.
Hi there, how are you?
Are these all-party groups first, Michelle? I mean, they don't get that much publicity in the Scottish Parliament, but there are quite a lot of them, are there not?
Yeah, I mean, there's basically a cross-party group for every special interest you could imagine. And what tends to happen is the areas that people are interested in, they give it a bit of their focus. And although they're meant to be cross-party, they have to be in terms of the rules of the Parliament. What tends to happen is there's usually one or maybe two driving MSPs behind it. And not surprisingly, promoting St Andrew's Day and promoting Scotland's interests is a personal interest of mine.
Of course. So just how do you go about your business? I mean, I think yours is a fairly venerable group in the sense I think it stretches right back to when Dennis Canavan was promoting St Andrew's Day as a national holiday in the early years of the Parliament. But how do you go about your business now? I mean, what's your key objectives?
Well, what we've been focusing on now, starting off with last year when the intake came in May 2021, Paul McLennan, MSP at that point, was a convener, and we realised that there'd never been an event in the Scottish Parliament to promote St Andrew's Day. So last year was the inaugural event, and the cross-party group itself, a wee organising committee, organised it. And so this year we're doing the same again. We've got singers, we've had a special poem written for it, we've got a goodie bag for people to take away. It'll be a large event. There's around 200 people invited to be held in the garden lobby. And of course, we've had to try and raise some funds to make that happen as well. So there's quite a bit of work associated with that. The second thing we're doing is to try and promote the idea of St Andrew's Day, in that St Andrews is well known, as you know, throughout the world. He's a patron saint for a number of different countries, and we're undertaking some academic research across some of the universities, for example, and international bodies to say, what does St Andrew's Day mean to you? Because anything that is an opportunity to promote Scotland on the world stage, to promote trade links between Scottish businesses and elsewhere, and businesses, our global diaspora, for example, which are very important to understand the importance of St Andrew's Day and therefore to promote Scotland, is worthwhile. So that's the next piece that we'll be moving on to. We've put a call out for evidence, and we've got a young student from Edinburgh Napier University who's going to make an assessment, and then we'll be in a position to say, go back to the Scottish Government and say, look, we could be doing more with St Andrew's Day. And that's what we're focusing on at the moment.
Now, you put your finger on a point there. I mean, traditionally, St Andrew's Day, widely celebrated by the Scots diaspora, but not much celebrated in Scotland. Now, that changed a bit a few years ago when the Scottish Government put a lot of investment into things, but it seems to have paled off again in more recent years. Would that be a fair assessment?
I think so. As I understand it, the Winter Festival, which was underway for a while, is not being funded at the moment. And of course, St Andrew's Day, I think, ran all the way through that kind of difficult time because, as we know, trade is much harder to do before you hit the kind of Christmas rush. So I understand that's not happening at the moment, and going through to, I think it went through actually into Burns Day, if I recall correctly, but you'll know better than me. So again, I suppose it comes down to, of all the priority calls that the Scottish Government's got, that's not a priority at the moment, the funds required for the Winter Festival. So I suppose I've taken the view, again, I want to contribute. I signed up to the furtherance of all Scottish interests and, of course, Independence for Scotland. This fits squarely under the furtherance of all Scottish interests. And I would say there's an appetite for it as well. We've got some of the universities involved in it because they see that an understanding of what St Andrews is about and how that links to the values of Scotland, they see that they can promote their brand on the world stage and also attract more foreign students. So there is both an appetite and an interest out there.
You see, if we wind the clock back, 40 years or so, there was no great Hogmanay festival. Obviously, there was a festival family by family and house by house. But there were no great arranged events like the Edinburgh Hogmanay, and other cities as well, which has been so magnificently successful in recent years. Would it be possible to think in future of doing the same sort of thing with the St Andrews Day, making that a focal point for winter tourism in Scotland and all the other things that can be doing, academic connections, with show business participation, sporting events? Surely the opportunities are manifest and legion.
Absolutely. And if you make that critical tie-up, so for example, at the moment, the patron saint of Ukraine is also St Andrews, and that where you have that commonality, that opens doors to these kind of conversations, that opens the door to attracting visitors where they have the same patron saint. The kind of Scottish brand, and that St Andrew's Cross is known by about 44 million people worldwide. Anything that brings trade and hospitality and tourism rather into Scotland can only be a good thing. So I cannot see why that's not possible. And this idea of Scotland resonating and singing on the world stage is absolutely what St Andrews Day can help facilitate when we look at the number of Burns clubs and Caledonian clubs who could easily become as invested in this as they are in Burns.
And obviously patron saint of the Russian Navy as well. So maybe St Andrew the Apostle might fulfill the role as peacemaker in this troubled world.
I hope so.
Michelle Thomson, thank you so much, and more power to your elbow as convener of the all-party group on St Andrew's Day.
Thank you.
You can help restore the birthplace of Scotland's saltire. Sponsor the flag flying at the Saltire Memorial for yourself or as a gift for someone with a love of Scotland. Legend says that a white saltire appeared against the blue sky at the Battle of Athelstan in East Lothian in 832 AD. Today at Athelstan, the flag flies all year round. Sponsors have the flag flown in their honour on a day of their choice and receive a certificate. Your donation helps to restore the birthplace of the saltire and keep the flag flying. Find out more about the history of Scotland's flag and help restore the birthplace of the saltire at saltire.scot.
Welcome back. Now, the work of the current politician is built on the work of one of the most famous MSPs of the devolution era. As an MSP, Dennis Canavan was behind the legislative moves to make St Andrews Day a national holiday. He is still campaigning and joins Alex to review progress to date.
And I'm delighted to be joined by someone who can be called the father of the parliamentary initiatives on St Andrews Day, Dennis Canavan, the celebrated former member of the Scottish Parliament. Dennis, that title is making the first parliamentary initiatives on St Andrews Day. I think that belongs to you, does it not?
Well, it's 16 years now since I got my bill passed to make St Andrews Day a bank holiday. But unfortunately, there is not very wide recognition of the holiday. It's recognised by the Scottish Parliament and it's recognised by the Scottish Government and some of the quangos associated with the Scottish Government. I'm working hard now through a cross-party group for which I was partly responsible in setting up, and we're trying to get broader recognition of the holiday. I think the local authorities have a big role to play in this, but you know, we wrote round all of them asking them to consider making St. Andrew's Day, or a day, say the nearest Monday or the nearest Friday to St. Andrew's Day, making it a school holiday. Because if it was made a school holiday, then many parents would also want the day off. But sadly, only 3 out of the 32 local authorities have a St. Andrew's Day holiday on or around the 30th of November.
Well, I'm delighted to say that the Alapa Party also recognised St Andrew's Day, and our massive staff have the day off on our national day. So Dennis, where do we go from here? I mean, there's been, with your bill, there was progress made. There was, a few years ago, when some guy called Salmond was First Minister, there was quite an impressive programme of events. But in the last 2 or 3 years, there doesn't seem to be the same momentum as you installed back in the day. What can be done to recapture that fervour?
Well, as I say, the cross-party group was set up a few years ago. I'm the secretary, and Michelle Thomson, MSP, is the convener of our cross-party group. And we're working hard to try and raise the profile of St. Andrew's Day celebrations, including the broader recognition of the holiday. You know, Scotland is, when it comes to holidays, Scotland is near the bottom of the league. And Scotland is one of the few countries in the world where we do not have a national day of celebration, just one day in the year when the whole nation can get together and celebrate our national identity, our cultural diversity, and also our membership of the international community. I mean, when you look around the world, I mean, the French have got Bastille Day, the Australians have got Australia Day, the Irish have got St. Patrick's Day, which is a bank holiday, both north and south. And in the United States, they've got more than one national day. They've got Thanksgiving Day, which falls around about St. Andrew's Day. And they've also got Independence Day and other national holidays like Martin Luther King Day. So I really do think, you know, if we worked harder to try and raise the profile of St. Andrew's Day, including a broader recognition of the holiday, and I really do think there's a role here for the Scottish local authorities and also organisations such as the Scottish Trade Union Congress, because workers deserve an additional day off, in my view, and it would be a great day of celebration for the whole nation.
And of course, traditionally, St Andrew's Day has sometimes been celebrated almost more by expatriate Scots in far-flung corners of the globe than it has been in Scotland. Do you think we can redress that balance and lead the celebrations from the old country?
Yes, I think we can, and we've already been in touch. Our cross-party group has been in contact recently with many St Andrew's Day societies and also other organisations like Caledonian societies and Burns clubs in many other countries throughout the world. And we're asking them how they go about celebrating St Andrew's Day, because as you say, in some countries it's celebrated more than what it is in Scotland, especially by expatriate Scots.
And finally, Dennis Canavan, do you think there is a particular message of St Andrew in this troubled world?
Yes, I would like to see St Andrew's Day 2023 being celebrated internationally, and remembering most of all that's about St Andrew's message of justice and peace. That was the message which St Andrew tried to spread throughout the world. And the two are interconnected. You can't have justice without peace. You can't have peace without justice. So we've got to remember that St Andrew is the patron saint of Russia. He's also the patron saint of Ukraine. He also began his ministry in the lands that are now known as Israel and Palestine. In these countries, there's a distinct lack of justice and peace. So I would hope that more people, particularly in these parts of the world, would listen to the St Andrew's Day message of justice and peace. And I think as a result, the world would be a better place.
And so say all of us. Dennis Canavan, founder of the modern campaign for St Andrew's Day recognition. Thank you so much for joining me in Scotland Speaks with Alex Salmond.
Thank you, Alex.
Well, we've heard today of the voluntary work that goes into promoting the saltire as the flag of Scotland, the flag in the wind. We've heard also of the political initiatives that get greater recognition of St Andrew's Day as our national day in Scotland. And let's get back, shouldn't we, to the push and the initiative and the drive that was only a few years ago to make it something really substantial, really great and really brilliant. You know, Dennis Canavan, as a backbench MSP, as an independent member of the Scottish Parliament, led the way in the public holiday campaign. And it was taken up some 15 years ago by the Scottish Government, led by myself, but with many willing participating ministers in that government, to make St Andrew's Day the kick-off of a winter festival programme. And what we were thinking of was looking at the huge success of the Edinburgh Hogmanay in particular as a worldwide event, and thought, well, why on earth can't we, in order to redress the imbalance in tourism in Scotland, why can't we have winter tourism in Scotland, kicking off with St Andrew's Day, running through a series of events, going to Hogmanay and climaxing in the burn season in late January? I mean, it seems, you know, given the weather in Scotland, it seems like having 3 great parties over a 2-month period seemed to me a substantially good idea, and one which would attract many more people to Scotland, and indeed balance Scottish tourism and be a very lucrative thing to do economically. But there's another reason, of course. We can't continue to have a situation where our national day, Scotland's national day, is more celebrated by Scots expats than it is by people in Scotland. Dennis Canavan reminded us of the importance of St Andrew in terms of international links. And the idea of using the focal point of our saint and our national day as emphasising Scotland's contribution to the world gives us a vision of what would be possible if we would just put our hearts and minds and some substantial government cash into this enterprise. I would like us to get back to the vision of seeing that 2-month period being a festival of Scottishness, attractive to not just to expat Scots, but to all the people who associate and identify with Scotland around the world. Let's have great sporting events, great cultural events, great concerts. Let's celebrate what it is to be Scottish and at the same time promote Scotland worldwide. Promote it worldwide for the good of our economy, for the good of Scotland, and to put forward that underlying message of peace and justice which Dennis Canavan so eloquently spoke about. And now over to Tamina, who's going to tell us about next week's Scotland Speaks with Alex Salmond.
Thank you very much indeed, Alex. And with that, we come to the end of this special show on St Andrew's Day. So do enjoy the rest of the day, hopefully with family and friends. And don't forget to join us next week, where we return to some more political themes. And of course, you know you can watch us on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and all the rest, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, you name it, we're on it. Please make sure you watch us and also tweet in, message in, email in with your thoughts on the show this week and some ideas for future shows. Until then, we shall, of course, see you soon.
This is an exciting time in Scotland's story, and understanding our past will help us determine our future. And when Scotland's voice is heard, it charts the way forward. This is Scotland Speaks with Alex Salmond.